Okay, thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you to Adrienne. Over there. Okay. Good. Garnet International Group and its Australian subsidiary, Australian Garnet, is a privately held mineral sands company that is currently developing a 6 megawatt wind diesel hybrid for its new operations in Western Australia. I'm Australian Garnet Engineering Manager Mike Kevan, and this is wind diesel hybrids in sand mining. Again, the standard disclaimer for looking forward statements. If you require this, please see me after the presentation. It's working. Okay. Section 1. Here we go. Introduction and site location. Just so that you're aware, the garnet mineral that we produce is an industrial abrasive and is used in applications such as sandblasting there. So the Baling Garnet project here in Western Australia. Garnet, or more specifically in our case the almandine garnet mineral, is an ecologically friendly industrial abrasive that is used in abrasive blasting, sandblasting, water jet cutting and water filtration. The unique qualities of alluvial Australian almandine garnet is its toughness and its ability to be recycled 4 to 5 times. The Baling Garnet project is located in a historic sand mining exploration and mining region, 150 kilometres north of Geraldton on the west coast, 2 kilometres inland. The sand is mined and processed to a heavy mineral concentrate consisting primarily of garnet sands. Now, mining and transporting the mineral sands, particularly these low grades, is energy intensive and requires a cheap and reliable energy source. And the process must remain stable for optimum processing conditions of the sand. So here we are located on the West Australian coast. We can see Perth down the bottom, little star for Geraldton, and the Baling Garnet project right on the coast there. So for us, power is a challenge. All electrical power for the site must be generated locally as a microgrid. We are some 10 kilometres away from the Southwest Interconnected Network, or the SWIS, which makes connecting for a project of this scale, which is relatively small, very difficult and expensive. The system out in this area is predominantly single phase and mainly there for the farmers and the homesteads in the region before feeding up into Kalbarri. So electrical network in this region is known to be unreliable and already prone to blackouts in the summer months due to environmental conditions, continual growth and limited infrastructure upgrades. Here's a couple of news headline snapshots from over the years. Kalbarri residents call for compensation over power outages 2014, fire blamed for sparking Kalbarri outage 2015, lightning damages poles 2016, storms pull plugs 2017. So a good, not good, the opposite, a good consistency of issues in the network there, which gives us good reason to continue our movement into self-generation of power. So the only available grid option, as I said, if we did choose to go that way, would require a substantial upgrade of the network in this region. We have had studies done by Western Power over the years, and to get power from the grid, we would need to upgrade everywhere from Geraldton north through to Kalbarri, 50 kilometres of 33 kV feeder, and then on up through to the mine site. And even then, we still wouldn't have guaranteed power. As it is a power-restricted region, the company would become part of a competing access group, which is managed through an application queuing process. Not an attractive prospect for someone who requires reliable power. Alternative options we did look at, Dampier to Bunbury natural gas pipeline is over 45 kilometres away, and for a project of this scale, that is uneconomic to tap into that. So the standard, site-generated diesel-fired power. What we have used in our financial models and funding to date is 26 to 30 cents per kilowatt hour, fairly standard, based on an assumed diesel cost at the time. We then add on to this the cost of the infrastructure of the power station itself and the ongoing maintenance and replacement for those units. And as Keith mentioned before, we are still at the mercy of the pricing of diesel. This does fluctuate, and this can change some of our decision making. Regardless, we still carry on with our quest for renewables. So the diesel-fired power will be more than 1/3 of the full site operating cost. So there's great incentive us there to reduce the cost of this. So that basically sets the business case for Australian Garnet looking into renewables, cost-effective renewables. So the wind diesel hybrid business case for Australian Garnet. Due to the nature of the sand deposit, the large volumes of sand must be mined and transported for processing. Initial investigations had found that the wind diesel hybrid to be the best route to progress to offset diesel consumption. Using wind-generated power in a region such as the midwest of Western Australia makes a lot of sense, and it provides us the opportunity to offset a great amount of diesel consumption. When the wind speed in the region is over 10 metres per second, the site could almost be completely run by renewable energy, 100% penetration. From the site investigations that had been done, and if you know the region, you'll agree that the wind is over 10 metres a second over 30% of the time, 24 hours, 27. And it is over 9 metres a second over 50% of the time. And if you know Geraldton and you know the region, you will know that the trees do grow sideways. So diesel-generated power is still required on the site. It's going to be the base load, it's going to support the site during the wind events. And the wind farm itself needs its control, reference voltage and power for that. So as we say before, the mining technique of sand transportation is energy intensive, but the hybrid approach that we're looking at will enable us to minimise the diesel consumption on the site. Okay, so investigations into our site conditions. We started late 2014 and on into 2015 for using a SODAR, sound detection and ranging unit, to measure the atmospheric and environmental conditions, and that's the little rig there on site. SODARs can measure from ground up to 200 metres in height, and this is the benefit over a meteorological mast or other devices that will require planning, permitting and things to do. Planning and permitting and mining, not often one of the swiftest things to undertake. So the results of the monitoring show the site obviously to be an excellent candidate with consistently high wind speeds measured during the trials. The site selected for the monitoring is actually the same site that we used for the wind farm. The first 3 months, as an example, in 2014 delivered a average wind speed of over 9 metres per second. So this is in line with some of the wind farms in the region. So there are 3 wind farms within proximity there. These are grid-tied wind farms. Carberry Wind Farm, basically 15 kilometres to the north of the operation, and then the Walkaway and the Mombita Wind Farm servicing Geraldton, 150 kilometres to the south. There are 5 wind diesel operations operating in Western Australia. We will be replicating these processes. So investigations into the site conditions. This is the wind rose resulting from the investigation. Not so much of a rose per se, but it does clearly indicate the very strong southerly and southeasterly wind directions that are measured on site. And just out of interest, the green shape on the side is the mining tenement for Australian Garnet, and Australian Garnet actually owns the land that the mining tenement and the wind farm and other infrastructure will be on. Oops. Okay, the site is surrounded by a mix of grazing pasture, open farmland, very little interference to the wind modelling. And as I say, the wind farm itself will actually be closer to the ocean. It will be less than 1,000 metres from the coast of the Indian Ocean. So all this work's obviously been done to calculate the energy production possible at these locations. So just as a quick picture of the site, this is actually standing on the ore resource looking west out in the ocean, and that's where we can see the mine site, which is currently vegetated, and then the wind farm to the left and the ocean beyond that. So the diesel hybrid modelling. Okay, the software used. Hang on, I must have accidentally slipped a slide there. That's the one I wanted. So from the modelling that we had done, obviously we generate an energy map for the area. We've overlaid the energy map over our mining licences there just to get an idea. And obviously the key inputs to this are the wind data measured from site, and then the contours of the low-lying land. And this shows the energy availability through the colours in the map. Okay, so the modelling. The software, an industry standard software used by our consultant, is an industry, well-accepted industry standard model. And this has calculated the available wind energy from the site based on some assumed turbines that we had used at the time. And obviously we've used the Enercon E40 units, as they are very, very common in the wind farms that exist in Western Australia at the moment, so we can easily benchmark and compare against those. For the purpose of the modelling, we're chasing 6 megawatts of power to service the plant, so we'd use 12 of the Enercon E40 in our modelling. As the diesel-fired power for our case, we had assumed some Cummins diesel generator sets, very standard for a mine of this size. And then the diesel consumption rates obviously put into the modelling to meet the demand of the plant expected loads. So the no-load fuel consumption we'd used in the modelling is 76 litres an hour. This is the real key number that we are chasing going forward. We know that the renewable energy can offset diesel consumption. It can offset it to a point. There are a few more percent to chase after that. That's what we're after at the moment. So the full load fuel consumption, 270 litres an hour per generator for the units, and a diesel conversion rate of 2.6 litres to kilowatt hour. So in the modelling that we had done for our plant in year one, 24 megawatt hours per year for the total annualised load, and that resulted in a total fuel load for the station at just over 6.5 million litres per annum for the case without wind. Once we start to integrate some of the wind turbine modelling into this, we use the energy output based on the software, and we used an averaged demand from the site, and initial investigations came out with a calculated wind penetration, just wind diesel hybrid alone, 56% penetration. So this results in the fuel load for the power station in year one reducing to a little over 4 million litres per year. So it's a difference between the no wind case and the wind case of 2.5 million litres of diesel per year. It's a 38% reduction in diesel consumption year one. So there is an upside for expansion. Mineral sand mining, traditionally the pit grows horizontally over the years, not vertically as some other mineral exploration mining does. So the power demand increases with the required pumping system there. So in the model, we had done this over a number of years. So year two, as an example, power has increased to 28 megawatts per year. Fuel station, fuel required at the power station up to just under 7.5 million litres per year. And with the wind modelling, that's reduced to just over 5 million litres per year. So in this case, year two, the offset diesel consumption, 2.2 million tonne a year, slightly lower than what we had before, and therefore the reduction in diesel consumption has dropped as well. Year three, again, the mine progresses, energy consumption increases 31 megawatts per year. Fuel station diesel requirement, 3.8 million litres per year without wind scenario, and with the wind, just over 5.5 million. So the reduction in diesel consumption year three is now up to 2.8 million litres per year. Reduction in diesel, 33%. Now, what we had found out through this initial modelling very quickly is that the offset diesel consumption varies. You would have thought that would either remain consistent or increase with the increasing power load on site. That's not the case. So this is mainly due to how the generators operate and how they have been modelled as well, which we've put a bit of work into to try and understand the logistics of that. So this is a visual representation of the power generation over 12 months of the year. The colours of each band represent each of the individual generator sets operating time for the year. So the blue, pink and yellow is basically generator sets 1, 2 and 3. The green is generator 4 and the yellow is generator 5. This is an average for each month. So when the plant's experiencing peak demand, obviously all 5 generators are on. When the plant's experiencing lower demand, generators 5 and 4 may switch off, therefore they have a reduced time share. Obviously you would cycle your generators not quite as simply as this, but the modelling allows us to show this quite easily. With a wind diesel hybrid, blue is now representing the energy input to the system from our wind farm. So as you can see, that's cyclical all over the place, basically driven by the nature of the wind that we have there on site, and each of the time shares of the generators has now been reduced, as you can see. So basically this is the wind turbine's contribution to the total energy load at the bottom there. What we did notice is that the total power demand or total energy consumption for the site increases with the wind diesel hybrid model. So, what's driving this? Inefficiencies in the generators to run on idle or to have a spinning reserve at capacity when the wind farm is operating. So this has driven us to look at not only as a wind diesel hybrid, but have a look at what else we can do to reduce that idling load, the diesel consumption for the generators that are not efficiently loaded. They are basically spinning reserve in the event there is a dip in the wind. So there is an opportunity for improvement that we see at the moment. So the full-scale diesel power station is still required to operate the site. In the event when the air is still, there is no power generated, to reduce the risk of brownouts and the changes of wind speeds. And just to note, in our case, the mineral sands mine doesn't have any exceptionally large electrical loads, such as crushers and ball mills. It's multitudes of pumps. So the power demands and the power profiles are different to that of other types of mines. So the operating strategy used in the model was using the diesels as the dominant source of energy, and to offset that diesel consumption with the wind. Sufficient diesel generated electrical capacity must always be online to meet the full demand, and this is where we see some inefficiencies in what could be coming in. So the greatest inefficiency arises from the diesel generators running underloaded a little bit inefficiently. And as a result of the wind diesel being the dominant source, the diesel being the dominant source, the wind turbine electrical output is held sort of at or below its target set points by blade pitching in response to the system frequency and voltage movements to make sure that the diesels are always in control. So as a result, we start to look at storage options. So in order to chase that last few percent of diesel consumption or energy costs that we've got, we started to look at modelling a number of different scenarios to try and whittle that down. We used a range of different types of software, such as Homer. Now, the Homer gives us the benefit that the previous software could not do, in that we can add capital costs, operating costs, maintenance, replacement costs, salvage values, to give us a full understanding of the economics of the life of mine for a wind diesel hybrid or a wind diesel plus other storage options. So, to keep it simple, we had done a number of scenarios, but just the idea of illustrating this, we had just used the example of a 4 megawatt hour battery system, which is just enough to enable us to take the diesels offline for extended periods of time in these high wind events. So before you rush the stage and ask why didn't we look at other options, we did look at other PV, other options, but to get the scale that we had needed to do, these become increasingly expensive, and it's difficult at the moment to get funding for a new project, let alone one with 2 power sources planned. Having an additional PV or anything at this time is just seen as too capitally intensive and not feasible. Okay, so the wind turbine output in Homer gives a little graph like this. Again, this is the day by day and hour by hour on the vertical axis output of the wind turbines that we had gained from our site data. So blue is low energy output, and up to the really orange is about 6 megawatt output from the system. So if we had included a battery into the system to try and offset that diesel a bit more, this is the battery charge state. Blue is very low, almost out of charge, up to the orange red up to about 100% charge. So you can see it's still quite gappy in that when there is wind on site, there is significant wind for a significant period of time, far too much for a reasonable sized battery to handle. And then when wind is down, it's down for a prolonged period of time. So there's a couple of numbers for the energy that was put into the battery: 645 megawatts over the year, into the batteries, out 422, which on first glances does save 130,000 litres of diesel a year, which doesn't look like a lot, but it is actually contributing to the operation and running of the wind farm, so that's not increasing the total power demand as we had seen before. Okay, so the upside potential for growth is still wide open for what we see. Once the project is up and going, we have cash flow, we can then investigate the storage options for the project a little more and then use it to control the wind farm and the diesels a little better. So identifying the right storage option, obviously going forward, will yield significant benefits for us. So reviewing the options for expanding the process and the wind farm is something that we will look at in the future. The energy consumption for the sand mining is ever ongoing, so there will always be growth there for additional energy usage. Okay, so just a quick highlight on project development, where the project is at the moment. So we've started the process design for our process plant, and we are focusing on the plant layout and how the electrical design and selection is done with the wind hybrid in mind, which requires a bit of a different design solution rather than being sort of energy conservative or aware of other different factors, where we're changing that a little bit. So the energy work is mainly focusing on equipment selection and drive selection for that. We understand the electrical infrastructure will be unique to this mine site, being a wind diesel hybrid. Not that any of those elements are particularly new or unique, but combining together will be a first for an Australian mine. So the project development timeline, very briefly, we are looking at securing funding in the next quarter. We'll have our project execution over an 18-month period, and we'll be commissioning the plant late 2018 into production first quarter 2019. As I mentioned, all the engineering has been started. We have all the required permits and everything in place for the mining operation. So that's a bag of the lovely pink garnet product. So just in conclusion, so we are a privately held mineral sands company, so we don't have a large bank balance, we don't have large operations. This is, I suppose, we're able to take on a little more risk or a little more diverse energy sources than a standard larger company, which is enabling us to do this at this time. Looking for the 6 megawatt hybrid system. Current expectations in terms of diesel savings will be at least 2.5 million litres per year. And the hybrid system is expected to save us a little over 6,500 tonnes of CO2 per year with the diesel offset. Wind farms are of a similar scale are common in the region, and the wind diesel is a common system as well. So the next 18 months will be an exciting time for Australian Garnet and the renewables industry as we put this into practice. So we will be at the we feel we will be at the forefront of a new and emerging technology, and we're happy to be here. Thank you very much.